My name is John Munene. I'm from UCMAS Stemrobo Technologies Kenya. Stemrobo stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, Mathematics, and Robo standing for Robotics. In Stemrobo, we deal with leveraging the 21st century skills which include problem solving, critical thinking, creativity, innovation, and many other. Today, I'm going to show you how to make a simple game using Scratch. Scratch is a program that we use to make games, animations, and stories. So today we are going to make a simple game using Scratch. Now, as you can see on your screen here, this is the simple interface of our Scratch program. At the left side here, you can see the various blocks that we have in Scratch. The first category of blocks that we have, it is called motion blocks. So motion blocks, these are the blocks that deal with movements of the sprite. Movements of the sprite. Then the next category that we have, it is called looks. So the looks category are the categories that deal with the physical appearance of a sprite. Then the next category that we have here, it is sound. So the sound block or the sound category, it deals with giving sounds to our sprites. Let's say, for example, like for our game, we want to add sounds to our game. Where we get those blocks, we get them in sounds. The next block that we have is called events. The events category, it deals with, it is where we start our program. These blocks in the events block, these are the ones that trigger the scripts in our program. Then the next category we have here, it is called control. The control block, it is the one that deals with conditional statements, things like the if statement, the looping statements. So if we want to perform some loops in our program, we use the control blocks. The next block we have is sensing. The sensing block is responsible whereby if we want to trigger your sprite, maybe your sprite is touched by another sprite, you want to trigger some actions, so you are going to find those blocks in the sensing block. Then below the sensing block, we have the green blocks here, which are called the operators. The operators, we use them to perform mathematical functions. So if you want to perform some mathematical function in your program or your game, we use the operators blocks. Then below operators, we have variables. So the variables are the ones that are responsible for putting things like scores. So if we want to put scores to our games, things like timers, what we use the variables operator. So we create variables using the variables operator. Below the variables operator, we have the my blocks section. So Scratch provides an interface whereby you can customize or you can create your own blocks. So whenever you want to create a block, a custom block, you use the my blocks section. Then at the center here, you can see this white space here. This white space here, it is called a programming palette or a programming window. This is where we drag and drop our script. So for instance, if we want to use this block here, we drag and drop it on the programming window. So the next element of Scratch that we have, it is called a stage. So you can see here this box here, we have a stage. So the stage, it is where we play and see our animations, our games. This is where we view our results. So on the stage here, you can see we have a cat there. So the cat in Scratch, we refer it to us as a sprite. So this is a sprite. So by default, when you open Scratch, the cat opens by is the one that is displayed as the default sprite. So below here, at the bottom right corner here, we have two buttons. So the first button here says choose a sprite. And on this choose a sprite, we have various options here. The first option, we have upload a sprite. So Scratch provides us an interface whereby, or an option whereby, you can upload your own sprite. Let's say for instance you want to upload an image or your own image in Scratch. You can use the upload option here. The next thing we have is a surprise button here. The surprise button, whenever you select on the surprise button, Scratch selects a sprite for you randomly. The next thing we have is a paint here. So if we want to paint a Scratch, we want to draw our own Scratch, we can use the paint button here. Then the next thing here is choose a sprite. So this is where whenever you click on this button, you can see we have a variety of sprites here. So we have many sprites here you can choose from according to what you want to make. Then the next button we have here is choose a backdrop. So choose a backdrop, it has the same interface or the same options as the choose a sprite. So the backdrop, it is the background images that we use in animation, in games, or in stories. So the game that we are going to make today, it is called a balloon bursting game. So the balloon bursting game, we are going to use something called video sensing. So using the video sensing, we are going to implement the artificial intelligence technology using Scratch. So what is artificial intelligence? Artificial intelligence, it is the simulation of maybe like machines using the human knowledge. So we are going to use the AI to simulate our sprite or our game. So at the bottom here, you can see we have a button here that says add extension. So whenever you click on the add extension button, you can see that Sprite provides you with a variety of extensions here. So the extension that we are going to use today, it is called a video sensing extension. So to add it, all you have to do, you have to just click on it. So as you click on it, you can see it is added at the side here. So you have some blocks here which are associated with video sensing. So as I said before, our game will involve balloon bursting. So what we are going to do, we are going to delete this sprite here, which is a cat. So the first thing, we delete it. Then we click on this button here, which says choose a sprite. Then after clicking on the button, we click on this balloon because our game involves a balloon. So we click on the balloon. So you can see by default, whenever you click on a sprite, the balloon is added to the stage here. So we are going to start off programming the balloon so that we can trigger maybe some actions to be performed. So what you are going to do, we are going to start with when video motion is greater than 10. Now from there, we go to looks. We want our balloon, whenever the video motion is greater than 10, we want our balloon to hide and show. So we click on looks, then we go to hide, we drag hide and drop it below when video motion is greater than 10. Then from there, we are going to click on control. Then we are going to drag a block called wait 1 second. We put it below hide. Then from there, we want our balloon. As you can see on your stage here, the balloon is gone. The balloon is hidden. You cannot see it. So to view our balloon, what we are going to do, we are going to click on looks here. Then after clicking on looks, we are going to drag a block called show. So we drag show here. We put it below wait 1 second. So you can see whenever the video motion is greater than 10, our balloon is hiding and showing. So, but that is not the aim of our game. So the aim of our game is that we want our balloon to hide and reappear at different positions on our stage. So what we are going to do, we are going to click on motion. Then in motion, we are going to drag a block called go to random position. So this go to random position, what it does, it instructs the balloon or our sprite to move to random positions on the stage here. So now as you can see, when we click the green flag here, when the video motion is greater than 10, our balloon is moving from one position to the other at random positions. Then the next thing I'm going to add a pop sound. So to add a sound, we are going to click on sounds. Then I'm going to start sound pop here. So start sound pop. So we stop, we play it again. So the next thing that we are going to do, we are going to add something called a score here. we are going to add a score. So the score that we are going to add, we are going to click on variables here. So after clicking on variables here, we are going to make a variable. So remember I said a variable is a temporary memory location whereby we store things like scores, timers, etc, etc. So we are going to make a score here. We make a score. So as you can see, whenever you introduce a variable, it puts itself, or it insert itself at the bottom, at the top here of the stage. So you can see the score is, by default, it starts from 0. So what we are going to do, we are going to trigger our score. Whenever we click on the green flag here, our score should always start from 0. So we are going to set my variable to 0. So we are going to change this variable here. We change this to score. So when green flag is clicked, set score to 0. Now we want, whenever we touch on the balloon here, because it is a video sensing where we are implementing the artificial intelligence technology, we want whenever we click on the balloon there, our score should increase here. As you can see, we have scores here, so the score should increase. So what we are going to do, still in variables, we are going to drag change my variable by 1, and we put it here below when video motion is greater than 10. So what we are going to change in this block here, we are going to change this, my variable, and we change it to score. So when video motion is greater than 10, we are going to change score by 10. So whenever I click on the green flag, you can see the score starts from 0. Then whenever we touch the balloon, the score changes by 1. So that is all about scores. Now the other thing that we are going to create, we are going to create something called a timer. We don't want like we play our game like forever. We want to have a timer whereby we are going to play our game in a certain duration of time, maybe like 10 seconds, 5 seconds, like that. So we are going to add a timer here. So adding a timer, we are going to create a variable. So this variable, we are going to rename it to timer. Press OK. Then after renaming the variable to timer, we are going to set this timer to start from a certain value, maybe like 20 seconds or 30 seconds. So set my variable here. We drag and drop it below set score. So any other block that is below when green flag is clicked, it is going to be executed like the 2 blocks we have here. So when green flag is clicked, we are setting the score to 0, and at the same time we are going to set our timer here to something like 20 seconds here. So 20 seconds, press enter. So the next thing that we are going to do, we are going to trigger in such a way that our timer will keep on changing by 1 second every time. So our timer will keep on changing by 1 second. So what we are going to do, I'm going to introduce another event here when green flag is clicked. Then I'm going to introduce something called a loop. So a loop, what's a loop? A loop is something that is executed repeatedly until a certain condition executes to false or executes to true. So I'm going to use the forever loop here. Then inside our forever loop, I'm going to introduce a conditional statement here. The conditional statement that I'm going to introduce, it is called the if then. So I'm going to drag if then and put it inside our forever here. Then inside this if then statement here, this is where I'm going to perform some logics whereby if the score here, not score but timer, if our timer here is equal to 0, if our timer here is equal to 0, that means that our time of playing the game has elapsed or has finished. So if the timer is equal to 0, we are going to change our backdrop here and display game over and stop the game. So to introduce that logic, we are going to click on operators here. So in operators, we have various types of operators, but the one that I'm going to use today, it is an equal to operator. So the equal to operator I'm going to use is this one here. So I drag the equal to operator here, then I put it inside this small shape there. Then I click on variables here. I take our timer here, I put it inside this first shape there. Then I'll change this from 50 to 0, enter. So our blocks reads like this. So if timer is equals to 0, we are going to change our backdrop here or our background here and display a game over. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create another sprite called game over. So I'll hover on this one. Then after hovering on this one, I have this option here called paint. So I'm going to paint a game over sprite here. So after that, I'll use this text here. This small t here is for inputting text. So I click there, then I write game over. So this sprite here, it will be displayed whenever our timer runs to 0. You can see we have a game over here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to code for this sprite here. So whenever I click on the green flag, we go to events here. So whenever I click the green flag, our game over sprite should hide. That is 1. So we click on looks, then hide. Then after hiding our sprite here, we go back to our balloon. So in our balloon here, what we are going to do, we are going to create something called a broadcast message. So the broadcast message that we are going to create, we are going to put it inside this if statement. So we click on events here. That is where you are going to find the block of creating broadcast messages. So in events, we take broadcast message 1, we put it here. So after broadcasting the message 1, the broadcasted message will be received by our sprite 1 here. So when I receive message 1 here, I'm going to show. So whenever our timer here runs to 0, as you can see here, we are creating a broadcast message. So this broadcast message, it is being received by our sprite 1 here. So when I receive a broadcast message, it is going to show. So when the green flag is clicked, by default, we are going to hide our sprite here. So the next thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to add a welcoming note or a welcoming sprite. So the welcoming sprite that I'm going to add, I'm just going to click on choose sprite here. Then I'm going to paint here. So in paint, we are provided with this platform here. I'll click on text. Then I click on this interface here. Then after clicking there, I'll just write balloon bursting game. Balloon bursting game. So I'm provided with this resize handles. I can resize to the size that I want. So I resize it like that. So the balloon bursting game, it acts as a welcoming note whereby you are notified like this game, you are playing this game. So what you are going to do, I'm just going to turn off this. So what I'm going to do, we want whenever we open our game, it should display something like this. It should display balloon bursting game. So what you are going to do, we are going to code for our balloon bursting sprite. So we click on at the bottom here on our balloon bursting sprite. So we go to events. Then in events, we take this block here when green flag is clicked. Then after clicking on the green flag, we are going to hide it. We hide it. Then we are going to show it at a particular time. So what we are going to do, I'm going to introduce another block called in control called wait 1 second. So this wait 1 second, where we are going to put it, we are going to put it here at the top. So we are going to wait for 1 second whenever I click on the green flag. After waiting for 1 second, so what we are going to do, we are going to show it first. Then after showing it first, we wait for 1 second, then we hide it. So when green flag is clicked, balloon bursting will be displayed here. That is show. Then after 1 second, the balloon bursting will disappear here. As you can see, we have the hide here. So what we are going to do, we are going to code first for our balloon burstings, whereby if our game ends, the balloon bursting will not also show. So what we are going to do, we are going to code for the video sensing. So whenever I click on the green flag here, we are going to use this block turn on video sensing. So when green flag is clicked, we are going to turn on the video sensing. So the video sensing uses the webcam. So the webcam is the camera that is in front of your device or your laptop. So at the front you have the webcam. So when green flag is clicked, turn on, we have the options here, turn on. So the other thing that we have, that you are going to do, we are going to turn off the video sensing whenever this condition here, if timer is equals to 0, we are going to turn off the video sensing. So that is going to show us that the game is over. So we are going to drag this one and we are going to put it here. When I receive message 1, turn off video sensing. So turn off. So I'm just going to change this timer here to something like 10 seconds here. Now what we are going to do, I'm going to play it. I'll click on the green flag. So you can see whenever I click the green flag, the webcam turns on. So I start playing the game. So after playing the game, you will realize that your timer does not change here. So what we are going to do, we are going to decrease our timer. So to decrease our timer, we are going to introduce another event here. So the event, we are going to put it here. We go to control. Then in control, we take forever here. We put it below here. Then we wait for 1 second here inside. Then after waiting for 1 second, we click on variables. Then change my variable by -1. So this is -1. So here we are going to change this one from my variable to timer, because we want our timer to change by 1. So our timer will change by 1 in a span of 1 second. So after 1 second, our timer changes by 1. After 1 second, our timer changes by 1. So let's try it now. So you can see after 1 second, our timer changes by 1. So let's play it. So as at the same time, you can see our score is adding up. So you can see our score is adding up here. And after the timer executes to 0, it continues counting to negative numbers. So what we are going to do, I'm going to add another block called stop all. So the stop all block, I'll find it in control. Then we have the block here, stop all. I drag stop all. I put it there. Then I can also put it, yes. Yeah, so the game is good. You can see as our score increases here, the timer decreases by 1. So after the timer decreases by 1, it goes down to 0. So after reaching 0, we display a game over sprite here. So the game over sprite, it is displayed by triggering this event here. So you can see we have this condition here, the if condition. So if our timer is equals to 0, which is true here according to this one, it executes to true. If it executes to true, we broadcast the message which is received here. So after that, we display the game over. So after displaying the game over, then the game stops, and that is the game. So what you are going to do, you are going to continue to robotics. Yes. Okay. So the other thing that you are going to do, easy. Sawa. Hapo. Yes. So after we are done with Scratch, I'm going to introduce you to robotics. So in robotics, we have various projects that we have made using robotics. The first project we have here, it is called a smart bin. The next project that we have here, it is called a smart house. Then here we have another project which is called a smart water plant system. So I start off by introducing the smart bin here. So before before we start off with the smart bin here, we are going to look at the real life problems that we are solving using this smart bin here. So the real life problems that we are solving using this smart bin, the real life problem that we are solving using this smart bin are things like whenever you find yourself you are walking on maybe a street, you have to open the bins by yourself manually. So instead of doing that manually, we have something called a smart bin here. So the smart bin here, it uses the artificial intelligence incorporated with robotics. So what we are going to do, how the smart bin works is that all you have to do, you have just to come close to the smart bin and it opens the lid. So I just come close to the smart bin. So you can see whenever I come close to the smart bin, it opens, and then you can throw your trash there inside. Then after throwing your trash there inside, you withdraw your hand and it closes automatically. So what you are going to do, I'm going to introduce the parts that we have used to create this smart bin here. So the first part, we have a sensor here. So this sensor, it is the one that is responsible for sensing maybe like motions or touching like that. If you touch on it, it opens the lid. So the sensor is the one that is responsible for doing that. So the other part, we have this part here. We have this part here. So this part here, it is called an Arduino board. So the Arduino board, it acts as the brain of the computer. So this Arduino board, it is where we store our programs which are used to run this system here. So the programs that are used to run this system, we use them in the Arduino board, whereby we code them in a laptop and install it in this Arduino board. So the next part that we have inside the smart bin here, we have something called a motor. So you can see a motor. So this motor receives instructions from the Arduino board. So after this sensor, it takes the inputs. So after it takes the inputs from the environment, it takes the inputs to the Arduino board. Then the Arduino board performs the specific actions according to how it has been programmed. Then from there, it instructs the motor here. It instructs the motor here to maybe open or close. So as you can see, I just demonstrate on it again. So you can see we have this one here, this part here. So this part here, it acts as the input. So it takes data from the environment. So you can see whenever I put my hand here, it takes the input. So after taking the input, it takes the input to this Arduino board here. Then it processes it. After processing it, then it takes it to this motor here and instructs it to open. So that is how this program has been programmed. So that is all about the smart bin. So using the smart bin, you can see that we are solving some real life problems. So you can think of this like the smart doors that we have in the big buildings, whereby when you come close to the smart door, the door opens by default. So the next project that we have, it is called a smart house. So the next project we have, it is called a smart house. So as you can see here, we have a smart house here. So that this smart house here, it has various parts. So I start off by explaining the various parts that we have in the smart house. So the first part that we have here, it is this OLED display here. This OLED display, it is the one that displays the temperature of the room. So the next part here, we have this light here. So this light here, we call it as a smart light. So this smart light, it detects the presence of darkness. So whenever there is darkness, this smart light, it is lit up. Whenever there is light, it goes off. So I'll just show you how the smart light works. So I just introduce darkness to this smart light. So I just place my phone like this. So you can see I've introduced darkness. So it means it is at night. So whenever there is darkness, the light turns on. Whenever there is light, the light turns off. So that is how the smart light functions. So the next part that you're going to look at, it is this sensor here. So this sensor here, how it works, it detects this sensor, how it works, it detects if someone has entered the room. So if someone has entered the room, this smart house here, we have something called a smart fan. So the smart fan, I'm going to remove it. So this smart fan, what happens, it detects whether someone has entered the room. And if you have entered the room, the smart fan turns on automatically by detecting your presence. So we have a sensor here, the yellow part here, it is the sensor. So whenever I come close to the sensor, you can see the fan turns on automatically. You can see it. So whenever I move out of the room, the sensor turns off. So you can see it turns off. So that is the other functionality of our smart house. So the other functionality of the smart house, we have a smart door here. So how a smart door works, it acts by detecting, maybe if someone has accessed the back door here, it makes an alarm, it makes a buzzer. So this smart door here, it has a sensor. The sensor it uses, it's called an IR sensor, which means an infrared sensor. So the sensor, it detects the movement of a person. So whenever you pass through this side here, it makes a buzzer. So the sound that is being made here is we hear it using this buzzer here. So yeah, I'm going to demonstrate to you how it works. So whenever you access the back door here, you can see I'm accessing the back door. It makes a buzzer. You can see it makes the sound. Whenever I access the room, it makes the sound. So after making the sound, it notifies the owner of this house that there is someone who has accessed your room. So all these parts here, you can see, they are all integrated, or they are all connected to something we call an Arduino board. So here inside, we have an Arduino board. See, so this Arduino board is the one that receives instruction from these sensors and performs the appropriate actions according to how it has been programmed. So this is the smart house that we have here. So as you can see here on the smart house, we have a sensor here. So this sensor, it is a temperature sensor. So after sensing the temperature here, it takes this input, which is the temperature, then it takes it to the Arduino board, which is here inside. Then the Arduino board will then instruct this OLED display here to display the current temperature of the room. So that is the smart house. So the next project that we have here, it is called a smart water plant system. So how a smart water plant system works. So how a smart water plant system works, it works by detecting the moisture of the soil. So as you can see here, I have two bowls. The first bowl has dry soil. The second bowl has wet soil. So I'll just demonstrate to you on how the smart water plant system works. Yes. Yeah. So what we are going to do, we are going to test how our smart water plant system works. So as you can see here, I have two bowls here. The first bowl consists of dry soil. Then the other one consists of wet soil here. So I'm going to put this sensor here. It is called a moisture sensor. So this moisture sensor, I'm going to put it on the dry soil here. So as you can see, whenever I put it on the dry soil, water comes out. So that means the soil here is dry and it requires some irrigation. But whenever the soil becomes wet, it stops pumping the water. So I'll explain how this works. So how it works, we have this sensor here. It is called a moisture sensor. So the moisture sensor, it is the one that collects information from this soil here. So it detects the availability of maybe dry, the soil is dry, or the soil is wet. So after collecting the information, it takes it to this Arduino board here. So the Arduino board then performs the actions that it has been programmed to perform. So the action that it has been programmed to perform is that whenever the soil is whenever the soil is dry, it instructs this relay sensor here to turn on the motor here. So whenever the soil is dry, the relay sensor instructs the motor here. You can see we have a motor. So it instructs the water here to be turned on. So the motor turns on and pumps the water through this outlet. But whenever this moisture sensor detects that the water is wet, it turns off the motor. So that is the system and how it works. So thank you very much. Thank you very much. That is our system and how it works. Yes, thank you. Yes. So also you can see we are solving some real life problems. So this is what we do in Stemrobo. So we try to solve some real life problems through innovation and creativity. So today we had these projects that we have presented to you. So thank you very much for your time, and have a nice time. Thank you.